Oh, friends, there are moments when the world demands a test so severe that reason steps back in fear. In such moments, innocence is asked to stand before fire, and faith is asked to walk without proof. This story is not about spectacle. It is about trust stripped of argument. When the mother stood at the edge of the flames, she was not measuring heat or calculating outcomes. She was listening for a voice deeper than fear. The fire roared, as fire always does. The crowd trembled, as crowds always do. But something older than flame was present there. I have seen how power uses fear to claim authority. The tyrant said, "If your faith is true, enter the fire." He believed fire obeys command, that flames recognize hierarchy. He believed terror would expose false devotion, and many hearts collapsed before the heat even reached them. Fear is efficient that way. It is convincing without touching. It burns long before the fire does. Yet fear cannot see what innocence sees, because innocence is not calculating survival. O seekers, the mother did not step forward because she wanted to prove belief. She stepped forward because retreat would have taught her child a greater lie. The infant in her arms did not understand doctrine or threat. The infant knew only presence. And in that presence, the mother was tested more deeply than any philosopher. Would she trust the world's fire or the truth she carried before words? Would she protect the body by surrendering the soul, or risk the body to preserve what cannot be burned? When the infant spoke, it was not a miracle meant to impress. It was mercy answering fear. The child did not argue. It did not explain. It said what innocence always says when fear shouts too loudly: do not be afraid. Fire recognizes truth more clearly than tyrants do. Flame consumes what belongs to it. It cannot claim what does not. The fire refused the innocent because innocence was not its property. Oh friends, understand this carefully. The miracle was not that the fire failed. The miracle was that fear did not succeed. Long before flame touches flesh, fear tries to claim the heart. It tells you to compromise, to protect yourself by surrendering what matters most. The mother's trial was not the fire before her, but the fear within her. When fear was refused, the fire lost its authority. I tell you this because many of you stand before quieter fires every day. No flames, no crowds, no tyrant shouting commands. Yet the demand is the same. Surrender your truth to feel safe. Abandon what you know inwardly to belong outwardly. These fires promise comfort, approval, and survival. And many walk into them willingly, believing compromise is wisdom. But innocence cannot be taught to negotiate with falsehood. O seekers, innocence is not ignorance. It is clarity without calculation. It is knowing what not to trade, even when the cost is high. The infant did not survive because it was protected by argument. It survived because innocence does not participate in fear's economy. Fire has no leverage over what does not belong to it. Threats collapse when there is nothing to threaten. I have watched faith weaken, not because truth failed, but because fear was allowed to speak louder. People say, be practical, when they mean, be afraid. They say, be realistic, when they mean, protect yourself at any cost. The mother did not argue with realism. She did not debate survival. She listened for something steadier. That steadiness carried her through flame, untouched. Oh, beloved ones, do not misunderstand this story as encouragement toward recklessness. It is not about seeking fire. Fire will come when it comes. You do not need to prove anything. But when you are tested, know this: innocence does not need defense. It needs fidelity. When you remain faithful to what is true before fear, protection appears from where calculation cannot reach. The tyrant's fire failed not because it lacked heat, but because it lacked claim. Innocence does not belong to violence, coercion, or spectacle. It belongs to a deeper order that does not announce itself loudly. That order does not always intervene visibly, but when it does so decisively. Fire bowed not to power, but to truth unafraid. O friends, if you find yourself standing at the edge of a fire, whether of judgment, pressure, or threat, listen closely. The question is not whether the fire will burn. The question is whether fear will rule. When fear is refused, even flames lose their voice. And when innocence is preserved, the world remembers its limits. This is why the fire refused to burn. Not because the fire was weak, but because innocence is stronger than threat. Not because danger vanished, but because fear was denied authority. Carry this with you. You may never face visible flames, but you will face moments that ask you to trade truth for safety. In those moments, remember the mother, remember the child, and remember this: what belongs to truth cannot be consumed by fear. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for the next episodes.